April 2nd, 2015. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 69 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name's Mark Duvall, and sitting next to me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
We got an email from listener Fred. He was asking about some big payouts. If you get paid like on a big slot payout and some of the consequences of doing that. His question actually stemmed from our fire bet win that we won back in October, where we each had $10 on the fire bet and all 6 numbers hit, and we won $10,000. We got W-2Gs, which are the tax forms that you get when you have a big payout like that. And we were a little surprised that Caesar's Palace, where it happened, withheld 25% of our winnings right then and there.
Yeah. They didn't really ask us, do you want to?
No.
They just did it.
And we didn't say anything up front because it was the first time we'd ever won a fire bet. And so we didn't really know what to expect. And
when fire bet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All 6 numbers fire bet, right. And so, you know, when we got the W-2Gs and then they only gave us 7,500 in chips, I was kind of thinking, well, I guess that's just the policy.
Yeah, but why did you flip the pit boss off and stomp away then?
Really, there's no reason they should have withheld that money.
No.
They had our Social Security numbers.
Right, and then it's up to you to declare it on your taxes.
Right.
And if you don't, you know, you have to deal with the IRS. Why should the casino be involved in collecting taxes?
Yeah, and if you cannot provide a Social Security number for them,
right,
then they have to, right, under law, withhold. I think it's like 28% they have to withhold. But they had our numbers, so I'm thinking that up front we could have said, hey, don't deduct anything.
Yeah.
You know, we'll take the full amount.
That might have been on us. It might have been that we were supposed to say something and we didn't know it. Or it just could be the federal government's way of making sure that, you know, we get out of this trillions of dollars of debt.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Fire bets.
I don't think
they're going to start requiring it. No sports betting in states, but, you know, craps and fire bets are legal.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it all comes out in the wash, right, when you do your taxes. But I wish we kind of had said something up front. I know that when you win the fire bet here at Harrah's by us, it's only a $5 maximum bet. So the most you can win is $5,000, and they never take that out. So,
well, anything over 1,200, you would think would be the same, right? Whether it's 5,000, 10,000, or 100,000.
Right. I mean, you've got to get a W-2G if it's over, 1,200 or over. But yeah, as far as the deduction goes, so Well, I'll
tell you what. Next time we're at Caesars, either one of us, I'm going to just ask.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And just say, what's the deal? Can I opt not to, ask a pit guy? Can I just not have taxes taken out?
Yeah, that's a good question. Even if we haven't won the fire bet, just to find out what they say.
Just to find out. No, and then I'm going to tell him, start filling out the form because I'm going to roll the fire bet here.
Yeah. And Fred then was also asking, if you win, a big bet at the craps table and they pay you in chips, can you then go to the cashier and ask for a check instead of cash? And yes, you can. And typically they'll give it to you. Some casinos probably have a minimum.
Oh, I'm sure most
for a check.
Of them do,
otherwise people would be asking for checks all the time, right?
Crazy people.
Probably like 5,000 or more. Although Fred actually said that he got a slot payout once that was around 4,000, and he asked for a check, and they did give it to him.
Yeah.
So,
well, you could see that. I mean,
sure.
Especially, I think it's even more important here in local casinos because there could be someone watching you, following you home or something. And if you get a check, they're not going to follow you home.
Right.
Right.
Well, he might still follow you home, but then you just flash the check and, okay, thanks anyway.
Yeah.
They put their gun away and drive off.
They put their gun away and drive off. Yeah. You have to buy McDonald's or something. That's it. That's right.
Now, you wanted to talk about coffee shops because on one of our drives.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let me go back just a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
I want to tell you this. I didn't tell you this. My brother just got back on Monday from Kansas City. He went to the Harrah's in Kansas City, and we'll talk about that a little later. But he had an interesting thing happen to him on Monday morning. He was down a little bit for the trip, not much, but he got up early and he went and played some slots, and he ended up hitting a few like bonus spin things on the machine.
Right.
Where he ended up with about $3,800.
Okay.
He'd put $100 in.
Yeah.
So he was up. So when he got the first bonus thing, it rang up and it went over $1,200 on the machine. And the machine just automatically printed him a ticket for like $11.99
Oh.
and left the rest of the money in the machine.
Oh, okay.
Right. So he took that ticket.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he ended up hitting another bonus thing. And I guess this one was bigger and a light went off and the machine wouldn't work. And, he said it took a while. Finally, somebody came by. He was trying to flag somebody down and he said, oh, this is going to have to be a hand pay.
Mm-hmm.
So he waited and waited. And finally a lady came over and she hand paid him. She wrote him a check from the casino, right? For $11.99.
Okay.
Again. And left more money in there. And then he played through it and then ended up cashing out. Anyway, he ended up clearing like $3,800 or something. But they worked it so they never had to give him a W-2G.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Now, that's great.
Well, it's great for the player and the casino. They don't like doing all that paperwork.
They don't have to do all that paperwork and really, it's probably not illegal because it's like, well, just give me $11.99. I'm going to play the rest.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Right.
And then when he hit it again, so, it just worked out perfect for him. And, he got home and he's like, oh, that was the greatest. Otherwise, he's thinking, oh, I'm going to have to wait for this, and pay taxes on this and this and that. But I don't know if that's common practice among other casinos.
That's the first I've ever heard of it.
First I had ever heard either. Yeah. I was shocked. He said the lady was real nice. She just says, okay. And he thinks he's getting a check for the whole amount, right?
Right.
She gives him $11.99 and then
just deducts that from the machine.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, that kind of goes back to, I don't know if that muddies the waters or clears them up as far as payouts, but every casino should do that.
Yeah, really. Okay. Well, good. This was Harrah's Kansas City.
Harrah's North Kansas City. Yeah. And by the way, he loved it.
Oh, good.
He said the people were wonderful, absolutely wonderful. There's a little difference in crafts, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But he liked it. He said it was really a nice place. A little older. He had one complaint. All the rooms have double beds.
All of them.
All of them.
Okay.
That's what he was told anyway, because he tried to get king or queen size beds and they had double beds. And he said, so, he's 6'2". And he said, so every time I stretched out, my feet are hanging way off the end of the bed.
Yeah.
And then my mom and dad, they're in a room with a double bed. And, he's like, I don't even know how they fit on the bed. Thank God my mom's skinny.
Nice.
So anyway, getting back to coffee
shops. Go ahead.
What is the deal with coffee shops?
Yeah, they're kind of a dying breed, at least on the strip, aren't they?
Everything is more upscale now.
Yeah.
It's still, they might call it the coffee shop, but it's like a nicer restaurant.
Right, like at Caesar's Palace, they had Central. I think it's closed since, but they had that.
I think it's still there, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I'd heard that it was closed, maybe since you had gone.
What's the one by the, what's that restaurant there with all the plates that are stacked up on?
Central.
Oh, it's open. It was open the other day when we were there.
Okay. Well, maybe they are closing it, but that and like the Grand Lux over at Venetian, right? That's their coffee shop. So it's
upscale. There's no Keno.
That's the thing. I want a coffee shop where I can play Keno.
Right.
I can just get like basic bacon and eggs.
Right.
For
exactly.
breakfast.
And that's what you want as a gambler. We want to go in the coffee shop, get something quick.
Yeah.
I want a Reuben, a French dip, a large Coke. No, make that a diet.
Right.
And then eat it and get out.
Double order of hash browns.
Yeah, double order of hash browns. I got a double order of hash browns. Where was that?
It was at Four Queens.
It was at the Four Queens. I said, I want extra hash browns. I am not kidding. It was a mountain of hash browns.
Yep.
No human can eat that many hash browns.
That's all you want. You want to be able to play Keno the whole time. Right. Well, actually, the Vegas Tripping podcast did a whole episode on coffee shops. I think it was episode 3 of the Vegas Tripping podcast. So go and listen to that for more coffee shop talk. But yeah, it's...
I just like that old time atmosphere. And now they're upscale, which means service is slower.
Yes.
Portions are smaller. There's no Keno. There's nothing to do but talk to your friends while you're in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that at home.
Right.
I do miss Keno in coffee shops.
I know, me too.
And you think the casino, I mean, they must have made some money on that.
I guess. Of course, it's a huge house edge, but the overhead, with the runners. I know,
the Keno runner and stuff.
It's not a fast game, so I don't know.
Just incorporate it to the waitress.
Or just have it right at the table, just have a machine, right?
Today with electronic stuff, you'd think there'd be some machine on the table. You just punch in your thing and it continually draws, right?
Yeah, it could be just for your table, just a regular Keno machine on
for
your
table. Right. with the little balls. They could have little balls in there that spin around.
Your own little tiny one.
Little tiny ones. And they pops out. You reset it, start over.
Hey, Mike, remember that guy that made those counterfeit poker tournament chips in Atlantic City?
At Harrah's?
He was staying at Harrah's, and he panicked and he thought, I got to get rid of these chips. So he flushed them down the hotel toilet in his room.
Right.
And then was subsequently caught because it clogged up the toilet.
Instead of just like throwing them out the window.
Yeah, or just into
in a trash can somewhere.
Trash can or down
and just denying he ever, saw them.
Exactly. Well, he's in the news again. He just pleaded guilty he pleaded guilty in September to pirating DVDs.
Oh, a genius.
And he was just sentenced this week to 5 years in federal prison and ordered to pay more than $1.1 million in restitution.
Oh, my God. Okay. Christian Lusardi.
Yeah.
That's what we should call each other when we're pissed at each other. We think the other person's just a dumbass.
Just say Lusardi.
Yeah, Lusardi.
Nice move, Lusardi.
Yeah, nice move, Lusardi. It's going to change. Dumbass will no longer be used. It'll be Lusardi. You pulled a Lusardi.
Oh, my gosh. What a riot. Well, thanks to listener Kirk who pointed us to this article.
They come down hard on that bootlegging DVDs.
Yeah.
My brother's in that industry, and I mean, that's their number one thing. I mean, it used to be that they would release certain films in Europe or Asia prior to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, my brother was telling me one of the big Disney releases was released here first because there was so much bootlegging in Eastern Europe that they were afraid if they released it there that they would make copies and then sell them on the streets in America.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lusardi, we'll remember that. Hey, our app is going to become free here this month at some point. And Miguel, one of our listeners, was asking if the bonus audio is still going to be associated with the app. So in other words, the bonus audio for previous episodes that we've already recorded, because we're not going to do any new bonus audio. Will that bonus audio still be attached to the app? I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that it will be. So once the app is free, everybody can get it and go back and listen to some of this bonus audio. But we'll let everybody know once that comes out.
I don't know that I want to go back and listen to old bonus audio.
I certainly wouldn't want to because that's just my life.
Yeah, right.
But, some listeners might want to.
I guess.
Hey, Frank Scoblete, who is an author, he writes a lot of books on gambling. He just sent us a copy of his new book, I Am a Dice Controller. That's the name of the book. There's a lot of talk, a lot of controversy behind dice control, or some people say dice influencing. And Frank Scoblete is definitely a proponent of this and claims to have, made some good money on it. You and I are not believers.
No.
But we're certainly not people that will argue our point because, again, it's hard to argue a negative and we don't know.
And if it works for you, great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think dice controlling is a much better defined term, right, than dice, because you're just trying to control the dice so maybe 7 doesn't come up as much.
Well, I think the reason some people don't like dice control is because you don't have complete control over the dice. In other words, okay, I'm going to roll a hard 6 this time. You don't do that every time.
Right.
But maybe there are subtle, differences in the long run, that help you become a winning craps player.
I mean, just if you could eliminate, a few 7s in a night, it could make a difference.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So we're not saying that it's not possible.
Right.
Just seems awfully far-fetched to me.
But we just got the book. I'm going to read it here as soon as I can. And we'd like to have him on the show at one point. If you do want to hear an interview with him, the guys over at Tipping the Odds Las Vegas podcast, Mitch and Dr. Kev, have done 2 interviews with him so far. He's a very pleasant guy. Makes for a very good interview. But I would encourage people to go back and kind of listen to those interviews. And then, we're going to read the book and kind of see where we stand after kind of hearing from one of the proponents.
The thing about that is you can't really prove that. Even if we're at a table, and let's say Frank's at a table rolling with us, if he has one really good roll, what does that mean?
Oh, yeah. It's the kind of thing that has to be done over the long term. And the long term is pretty long.
Right. For me, if, let's say you and I go every weekend to Harrah's, and if you were able to do this, and every weekend I was with you, and over a year, I was like, well, your rolls are way better than everyone else's.
Yeah.
Then I start to think there's something to it.
Yeah.
Right now, you're sucked just like everyone else is.
Right. Yes.
So how could you know?
Yeah, well, and like I've said, I've gone an entire year of playing craps almost every week, gone an entire year and been up for craps.
Right.
And there was certainly no dice influencing going on because we were playing here in California where it translates to cards too, right? So it really is random.
And also, you're not just playing on your roll.
Yes, exactly.
You're playing on everybody's roll. So
yeah. So no, it would definitely have to be something you'd look at in the long run.
Yeah.
So yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover the costs of hosting the show, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You'll pay the same price just like normal. We got another email from listener Miguel. He wrote, I happened upon an article citing licensing agents cracking down on the people selling cold water on the strip, usually for $1 apiece. The complaint is that the bottles are reused and filled up with tap water. I find this hard to believe since buying a $3.99 case of 24 bottles and selling them for $1 apiece gives you a 500% profit. And trying to refill bottles seems like time wasted. Time which you could use to sell 4 or more cases out on the street. Yeah, this doesn't sound right to me. First of all, they'd have to get empty bottles. Well, and I guess they could out of the trash. But
yeah, but I mean, you would know when if the lid wasn't.
Yeah, as soon as you open it and it didn't click open.
I'd be like, give me my buck back, right?
I don't know. I never buy water from those guys.
No, not, they're usually selling them like on a bridge going from one casino to another.
Yeah.
So why not just wait to get in the casino and get a bottle of water?
Yeah, right.
I mean, why would you buy, I don't know. I guess people do.
I'm sure they do.
Help them out.
Yeah, right. Help them out, right. It's kind of like panhandling, but I can't, it just seems like.
Just give them the buck, take the water, and then just chuck it. Just
off the bridge. Onto the street below, hopefully catch a car, yeah. And then just point at the guy. Look what he did.
He did it. Free night in jail.
Hey, we got an email from Victor. He sent us a few questions. He wrote, it seems that one hears equally as often, don't worry about knowing the game. The dealers are glad to help you. And know the game before you come up to the table. That's proper gambling etiquette. So which is it? How does a player hit the right middle? Let's assume a craps table, not packed, but not empty. This is kind of a good question.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes you'll go up to a table, and we saw this recently, where these two women went up to the table. They didn't know what they were doing. And the instructions that they got from the dealers were
terrible.
It was really poor.
It was poor.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was like, oh, do this, do that. No explanation why.
Yeah.
What you were just here. Give me your money and put it here.
Yeah. And the dealer was not like making them make bad bets. They were telling them the right things to do. It's just there was no explanation behind it.
Right. So that really doesn't help them. Now, we're assuming that they wanted to learn.
Yes.
Right.
That's true, too. And it didn't seem like these women were all that concerned about really learning the intricacies
I think they were just concerned, I've got $20, where do I put it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So I don't know. I mean, my recommendation is to, learn a little bit about the game before you go up to it. Now, if you're in a casino and there's some carnival game you've never even heard of before,
right,
then it's certainly fine to, have the dealer explain it to you.
Kind of depends on what kind of person you are. I mean, if we go up to a table and it's a new carnival game that we've never seen and we ask the dealer a few questions, well, we played enough cards or whatever that we can catch on real quick.
And we're going to ask more questions that maybe they won't offer the answers to unless you ask them, right?
But if you know nothing about cards and you walk up and, teach me how to play 3-card poker.
Yeah.
Well, if you've never played poker, it's going to be pretty hard to explain, right?
Yeah, you'd have to start from the basics.
Yeah,
you're right. It depends on what you are as a player, and it depends on the kind of dealer that you get too.
Right.
Is it somebody who's actually going to explain the game to you or kind of breeze over it
or you
and say, put your money here. Yeah, exactly. Another question from Victor. You got me thinking about the importance of friendly and helpful dealers. I wonder if the Big 6 and Big 8 would be a good test. Walk up, put down a nickel on Big 6, and see if they tell you to move it. Then decide if you want to keep playing there. So just as a reminder to people, right, Big 6 and Big 8 at the craps table, they're terrible bets because they pay even money if, say, a 6 comes up before a 7. Right. But you can just place the 6 and get a payout of 7 to 6. So, really,
so your $6 would win 7 instead of 6.
Yeah. So,
That's a good litmus test.
Yeah, a good litmus test for the dealers. Just put it there and see what they say. Now, I don't know that I would do that every place I go. Just, I want to check out this crew. Let's see what happens.
Well, what are you going to do if you place that there and they just leave it? And, so how long do you go?
That's right.
Do you say, oh, wait a minute, and pick that up and run away and curse them out? Or do you just leave it there? And
or do you say, oh, hey, see, I bet here on the Big Six. Do you see
I'm
that
on the
there?
Big Six.
I'm going to make an announcement and see if it calls their attention. Guy just glares at you. Yeah, good luck, sir.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Is it the dealer's really responsibility to monitor where people bet?
Well, no, but
I mean, that'd be like going up, I might as well put $5 in the field. And I says, well, that's not such a good bet, right?
That's true. But there's no comparable bet at the table.
Right.
It's the field, but you get some better payoff, right?
Right.
That's the difference here.
Right,
I know if I were a dealer and somebody made if they put $1 out there, I probably wouldn't say anything. But if they put at least $5, I'd mention something. As long as that's okay with the casino, who knows? The casino may have certain rules in place for their dealers.
Right. They might not want them to say anything.
Well, if you see money in the Big Six, you just you let it stay there.
What was funny is your luck. You'd be the dealer, right? And the guy'd put $5. You say, "Oh, sir, there's a better bet you can make." And the guy, that's all he has is $5. Right?
Yeah, right.
It's his last $5 of his whole trip. He's down a few thousand. He's got $5 left. Mind your own goddamn business.
That's right. Either that or you move it up to the place 6 for him, then you just pay him $5 when the 6 hits.
There you
go, sir.
Feel better?
Another question from Victor. I have often been confused about the idea of lucky 7. Why is it referred to that way in the public domain so often, given its meaning in craps and mostly no meaning anywhere else? Well, that's not really true. I think certainly through history and religion, what have you, the number 7 has played a big role in a lot of different things. There are 7 days of the week. There's 7 colors in the rainbow. There are 7 notes
seven
on
comes
the
up in
musical
the
scale.
Bible a lot of times.
Tons of stuff in religion.
Yeah.
So, I think it's been considered a lucky number for a long time.
Right.
And, so
the 7, signs of the apocalypse, is that it? Or there's a lot of biblical references to 7 being lucky and 6 being unlucky.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then finally, Victor said, how about Mike's dad as a guest? Sounds like it'd be a treat. Yeah, it might be. I don't know. If we got him sitting in front of the microphone, I think he'd dummy up.
Yeah, well...
Even though he's so talkative.
Yeah, he might not once we started talking to him, and he just forgot that there's a mic there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd probably just go on and on.
We've tried to get him to talk with like a concealed mic. We've got like a hidden mic.
Right.
We haven't had that great success with it.
Well, a lot of times we've been in the car when we do it, and he's in the back seat and we're in the front. But... my dad's a talker.
Oh, no question.
I mean, if any listener ever came and met my dad, I mean, be prepared for like a good half hour. You have to politely walk away from him.
That's right. I've got to get going. Well, we'll see. Maybe one day. Hey, you had a story from your recent trip.
My Las Vegas trip. I forgot to tell this on the last podcast, and I remembered afterwards, and it's so, to me, interesting that I thought I should really mention it.
Yeah.
So we're at a table. It was actually at Flamingo, I believe. And I'm playing with 2 other guys who are very novice craps players. I mean, very novice.
Yeah, they really don't know the game at all.
No, and they're just starting. And I was kind of explaining to them the whole time. And they were kind of getting a little bit of a hang of it. But we weren't having such good luck on this one table. And my one friend... he bought in for just $100. And so he was down to his last, I believe it was $3.
Okay.
So he had 3 white chips left in his hand. And he had like a $5 bet on the line. And the point was 6. And the dealer looked at him, and because he didn't take odds or anything, he didn't have any more money.
Yeah.
Dealer looked at him and saw that he had 3. And this dealer was a younger guy. I mean, in his mid-20s. And he said, "Oh, you're all in?" And my friend said, "Yeah, this is it." And he said, "Okay, give me that $3. And he took the $3, and I'm standing there and I'm thinking, okay, he's going to put it on the hard way, which is what he did. But he put it on the hard 6, and he said, "Yeah, now you've got a 2-way hard 6. He gave him 2 and 1 for himself, the dealer, without explaining to this novice who knows nothing about what a 2-way hard 6 is.
He just took the money and said, okay, I'm making a 2-way hard 6 for you.
2-way hard 6 for you. And I, started to fume. I mean, smoke's coming out of my ears at this point.
Yeah, because a 2-way bet means a bet for the player and a bet for the dealer. Right. So this dealer basically took money and made a bet for himself.
Made a bet for himself. And the funny thing is he's been there the whole time. He's seen the guy lose his whole $100. It's real obvious he's a novice, even though I'm helping him.
Yeah.
And it's also very obvious I know what I'm doing because I bought in for $2,000 and I've been, making all kinds of bets.
Yeah.
But right in front of me, he's going to do this. Yeah. And so I started to say something. And as I'm doing it, the person rolls a hard 6.
Okay.
So he wins his pass line bet and he got $18 for his, bet. And the dealers took their 10 and down.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to start anything right then. We played a few more hands and then eventually we're tapped out. But as we were leaving, I was explaining to my friend what had happened.
Yeah.
And it just burns me up because if there's one thing a dealer should never do, they should never make a bet for themselves.
Well, a lot of them shouldn't be hustling for tips anyway. The casino has a policy where they can't even ask, oh, would you like to make a bet for us? Right. And here's an example where the guy just took your friend's money and made a bet for himself.
Yeah, and had I not been there, let's say, he's just trying to learn the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have had no clue. He would have like, wait, I put $3 out there and I got 18. Now, how's that work? What's it pay? Stuff like that burns me up. So I don't know. What can you do?
What you could have done if you really wanted to was say, hey, you took my friend's money, pay him $27.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a $3 bet if you really wanted to make a stink.
And I don't like bad karma. I don't want to create controversy or anything, but I just kind of let it go. But I was fuming. And it, didn't help that we were losing, right?
Sure.
If he had done that, we were winning. I'd be like, okay, give him $1, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to tell that story because it still bothers me.
Yeah. All right. So your brother went to Harrah's North Kansas City.
Correct.
And played craps there, of course. And he was making a fire bet, and the fire bet pay table was different there.
Yeah, he actually won the fire bet right off the bat. I mean, like second shooter.
How many numbers?
Just got there. 4 numbers.
4 numbers he hit. Okay.
Anyway, when it started to roll, he didn't ask. He just assumed regular fire bet. Although he was curious that they let you bet up to $100.
$100 on the fire bet?
$100 on the fire bet.
Wow.
Guy next to him had $50 on the fire bet.
Wow. 25 is the most I'd ever heard of.
Yeah. And my brother wasn't really paying attention at that point. He thought it was 10. He bet 10 and $1 for the dealers.
Okay.
So he had $11 on there. It turns out the 4 numbers hit. When they went to pay it, they gave my brother $440. $440.
Okay, so
they didn't realize.
So the payout on 4 numbers is 40 for one?
40 for one.
Okay.
They gave him $440, and he was like looking at it, and he's like, wow. And they were like, oh, it pays 40 to 1. And he said, well, how did I get 440? Well, they didn't realize that dollar was for them. They thought he was making an $11.
Really?
And it was funny because my brother said after a while, he realized not very many people ever tipped.
They're just not
Kansas
used to
City.
it.
And the dealers were so unused to seeing a tip for them, especially on a fire bet, and then he gave him the $40, of course.
Well, that's nice.
But then he asked, and it turns out 5 numbers paid $250 to 1.
So 4 numbers pays 40 for one. That's the highest I've ever heard.
The highest I've ever heard by far.
All right.
5 numbers was $250 for 1.
And that's
which
typical.
Which is the typical.
Yeah.
But the 6 numbers is only $500 for 1.
Okay, so they're taking money off the top.
They're taking money off the top, which is great because you're going to hit way more 4s.
Yeah, really.
And you can go you can go up to 100. The guy who had 50 won $2,000 on that 4 fire bets.
Yeah.
I told my brother, he was like, oh gosh, you think I should bet more? I'm like, no, because even the 4 is not going to hit that.
Yeah, it's not going to hit that much. Yeah. Oh, yeah, but that is a good point. I like that pay table better because think of it. We've hit a 6 once,
right?
With as much as we play. One time
we've hit
a
4s hundreds of times.
Oh yeah, we'd have a lot more money in our pockets if that was the payout for the 4 in the places we play.
Yeah, especially if they let you go $10 or more dollars.
You told me this story, and it kind of got me thinking about good bets. Bets that have a low house edge versus bets that are more likely to win. And I remember we talked about this before. So, for example, the craps table, taking odds when your point is 4 is a good bet.
Right.
It's a better bet than a place bet on a 6.
Correct.
Because there's no house edge on the odds.
Right.
But the place bet on the 6 is going to win more often.
Pay more often.
It's going to win more often, right? And it's kind of like this, right? It's like, okay, so I'm not going to get paid as much on when I hit 6 numbers.
Right.
But I'm going to get paid more on the bet that wins more often for me anyway, right?
Correct, right.
Yeah.
I wonder how pissed I would be if, like my brother, I went very first hand, guy rolls 6, all 6 numbers.
Yeah,
right? I mean, would you be stewing saying, you put $10, I got 5,000 instead of 10,000, and you'd be like, "Oh, come on, that's a $5,000 difference." Or would you say, "Well, if I'm going to play here long enough, I'm going to make up for it." Now, if this was your home casino, like Harrah's Rincon for us, I would take this in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
because we're there all the time, right?
Well, and I actually worked through the math on this too. With this pay table, the house edge on the fire bet there is around 15.6%, which is still a huge house edge. But the fire bet usually is a 20% house edge, right?
Right. Yeah. So this is just interesting. He was real excited about it, of course, because all of a sudden, he was up for the table, first shooter and everything.
This also got me thinking about Mark over at the 360 Vegas podcast catches some grief for not always playing max coin at a video poker machine. And his rationale is, look, the only difference between playing max coin and less than max coin is the royal flush. Right. And let's say
it's not going to come up that much.
Right. So. It's not going to come up that much. And so if I'm at a machine that's like $1 machine, I only want to play $1 at a time. I don't want to have to play $5 every time just to get the right, odds for that royal flush. And, I tend to agree, if you don't have
it's good money management.
Yeah. If you don't have the bankroll for it and you're still having a good time. Cause listen, Mike, honestly, okay. We don't play video poker all the time, but we've played a fair amount.
Quite a bit.
I have gotten a royal flush 2 times. Both times, it's been on my phone for play money, playing 10 games at the same time.
Right.
Okay?
And how many times have I gotten it?
How many?
A big 0.
So never have we ever hit a royal flush in a casino between the two of us, right?
Right.
So I can certainly. So again, this comes down to what's going to happen more often versus what's the right match.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with Mark because if you're going to gamble consistently and you've got a limited bankroll, you need to do what's best for your bankroll and not what's best for, if I hit the royal flush, I want to have the most money in there, right?
Yeah.
Because that's probably not going to happen. But if you are going to play consistently and you're playing the max, your bankroll is going to go real quick.
Yeah.
So
here's kind of the bottom line. It's okay to make any kind of bet you want as long as you understand the math and are okay with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
Well,
so it's like, okay, I know
you understand the consequences.
Yeah, you understand the consequences. Yeah.
Because the consequences are really what it boils down to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're putting, $1 in a machine or $2,000 in a machine, if you understand the consequences of losing that, then I'm okay with you doing it.
Yeah, right. Good. Dr. Mike's okay.
I'm okay with it.
You understand everything that's going on. One quick thing before we move on. I've been having some trouble with our Gmail account.
Okay.
And I went online. Apparently other people have this problem too, where suddenly mail that's in our inbox suddenly disappears from the inbox.
Huh.
I can still retrieve it. There's like this all mail folder you can go to.
Right.
But sometimes it'll just disappear from the inbox and I'll not realize that maybe I have an outstanding message that I need to respond to. So I just bring it up in case I haven't responded to some emails that have come through. Email again, and I'm actually working on kind of getting around this problem so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, because you're very good about answering emails.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Ask a Dealer segment. This turned out to be a very popular segment when we did it the first time. We have some dealer friends who have offered to anonymously answer questions for listeners. And the nice thing about the anonymity is that they don't have to worry about, a pit boss over their shoulder listening to how they answer a question, and
they getting fired.
Yeah, right. So they can be real honest about their answers. So first, let's talk. This is a new dealer to the show for the Ask a Dealer segment. He's going by the name not My 11, Yo 11.
Okay.
Not My 11, Yo 11. Okay, let's go to the first question. David on Twitter wanted to know what a typical shift is like for a dealer.
Hi, how's it going? I guess I'll go by the name of not My 11, Yo 11. I've dealt for 6 years at a casino, Litmus Casino here in San Diego County, and I've dealt for several in-home and casino type of dealing companies. Some of the questions you guys had, can you have the dealers walk us through an average shift? How long is the shift? How many games dealt? How many breaks? Typically, your shift is 8 hours. You come in, you check with the scheduler. They tell you what tables or string of tables that you're going to. You get there. Typically, some casinos are 60 minutes. Some are an hour and 20 minutes. And usually, you work 20 minutes on a table. You get tapped. You move to the next table, 20 minutes. You get tapped. Move to the next table, 20 minutes, and then you go on a 20-minute break. Other places, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, take a break for another 30 minutes. So in a 2-hour span, you work an hour and a half, you have a 30-minute break. Oftentimes you have to check with the scheduler. They might say, hey, poker needs help, so you're taking off your string and you're moving on to poker if you deal that game.
Okay, so...
Yeah, that's good. It sounds like they get plenty of breaks, which I know the casino wants because they want their mind clear and they want them to be fresh and stuff.
Yeah, and usually they're on their feet that whole time when they're not on break. Yeah.
Right. And that can, you get physically fatigued, you can make mental mistakes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's the last thing the casino wants is that.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. All right, another question. Lauren on Twitter wanted to know how you could tell if you were in a casino where the dealers pool their tips or in a casino where each dealer keeps his or own tips, without actually asking the dealer up front. How, is there a way to tell?
Oh, okay.
Another question was, how would you know if a dealer is pulling the tips or keeping their own without asking? Good question. Oftentimes, when they're taking their toke box with them, as they move to the next table, go to break, they're pretty much keeping their own tips. If the toke box stays there and on the table as they leave and go to the next table, that's pretty much, they're pulling.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but what's interesting when they pull, I've always been interested, and we'll have to ask this next time. What's the pull? Is it that shift? Is it the whole week? I've heard different things. I've asked dealers.
Yeah.
And some say, it's just, our shift every night. Right.
All tables, craps, blackjack, all table games in there.
The whole casino floor.
Yeah.
This shift splits the tips.
Yeah.
Right. Then I've heard other people say, it doesn't matter the shift. It's just for the week.
Yeah. Because
it gets divided by how many hours you work.
The person standing at the blackjack table at 7 a.m. is probably not going to be making a lot of tips.
Right.
Yeah.
So they do the whole week and then divide it up by hours you worked.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty nice way to do it, really.
Yeah.
I'm sure, though, if you're a good dealer and you're friendly, I'm sure you'd rather keep your own.
Oh, yeah.
Because you probably make a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move on to another question. We're going to now hear from our dealer friend, Seven of Diamonds. The question comes from Logan. He asked about piggybacking a bet for dealers, and if they prefer the bet be taken down or the bet stay up under player control. So when you make a bet for yourself and for the dealer on the same wager, you can say you want it piggybacked. And that basically means that you want to keep control of their bet. So in other words, if the bet wins, you decide, do they get to just keep it right now, or do you parlay it, or do you,
increase it somewhat, give them some. The player has control, basically.
Yeah. So let's hear from Seven of Diamonds.
Hello, everybody. Seven of Diamonds here. I'm going to answer some more questions for you guys again today. about dealing. In case you didn't listen to the last podcast, I've been dealing about 10 years at a few different casinos. And I do deal craps. So first question is craps, and somebody wants to know when they're playing craps, they typically bet for the dealers on the hard ways, player control, and do the dealers like them to parlay the bet or take the bet down when it hits? Well, dealers like to go for it all, so we definitely like it when you guys parlay for us. That's awesome. If it's not hitting throughout the night and you keep doing it for us, I would say press half, take half. That's my preference. Some people do like to take it when it hits, just take it all, but for the most part, press it. We're dealers, press it.
Yeah, see, the dealers are gamblers.
Yeah, right. Sure. I always parlay their bets with mine, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm parlaying mine. It'd be kind of silly to parlay mine and, pay yourself.
Yeah.
Come down. You don't have a bet, and then it hits again.
It would be sillier if you parlayed theirs, but then collected yours.
Mine. I'm not stupid.
You just keep parlaying until, it finally loses. Yeah.
Right. Too bad you guys didn't win.
I did okay.
I did all right.
Yeah. But she makes a good point, right? Maybe not parlay, but do half. Right? Let them collect a little bit.
Right. And I've done that. Usually I've done that after a bunch haven't hit, and I feel bad. Like, I've been making these bets for them, and they're just not winning. And one does hit, I'm like, okay, take it up a quarter and drop a quarter.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Lauren had a question about Martingale bettors. Those are the bettors who use the Martingale system, where you basically double your bet every time you lose until you eventually win.
Right.
And make your money back. So let's see what she says.
What is the farthest you saw someone using the Martingale system go before losing it all or winning that final bet? Well, that is why the casinos have a table max, and I mostly have seen this on Baccarat, and I've actually seen somebody go all the way from starting out at $25 and doubling up, tripling up, all the way until the table max, which was $5,000 at the time that I saw them doing it. And they lost that $5,000 bet, and they pulled out another $5,000 and lost that one again. So I've seen it go all the way. I have seen them also get to that final bet and then hit it and make the $5,000 on that last one. And I've only seen this on blackjack and baccarat, but it's mostly baccarat.
So lost $10,000. Well, more than $10,000, right? To win $25 ultimately. That's what he was trying to do. Yeah.
Right.
So that's.
Well, what's funny about that is you do see it a lot on baccarat. I mean, we've seen that a lot. Mm-hmm. You do see it on blackjack every once in a while. Somebody, and I've seen it on roulette. Mm-hmm, with red and black, right? Mm-hmm, even though it's not a 50-50 deal.
Yeah.
What was funny is this last weekend on the craps table, remember that lady that was betting the field?
Yeah, she was basically doing that on the field.
She was basically doing a Martingale system on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was scary.
And she finally hit a winner for, how much was out there when she won? It was several $1,000s, wasn't it?
It was like it was a weird amount. It was like $2,010 or something that she finally hit won, and won, and then went back to a $10 bet.
Yep.
I mean, that's a lot of money to put on the field.
All right, here's another question from Lauren.
What would you do if someone was obviously intoxicated and winning or losing betting large bets? Well, that depends. Typically, we're not supposed to say anything. The casino likes people to drink. If you're drinking, you're tending to play longer, bet more. They like it. And that's more on the beverage department. They're supposed to be the one cutting them off. But occasionally, a supervisor will tell a shift manager if it gets out of control. But you rarely see them actually pull the person off the table and stop them from betting. But I have seen it happen a couple times in 10 years.
This is why I'm glad that our dealers are remaining anonymous. Because they, if they're in a casino, they're not going to say, oh, yeah, the casino policy is to just get you as drunk as you possibly can.
Right.
Because you're going to bet more and lose more.
Right. Oh, no, casinos are very concerned about your welfare. I mean, I've actually heard pit bosses come up to, oh, sir, you've been drinking a lot and your betting is a little out of control.
Yeah.
I think you should go back to $5 bets and just relax and slowly get back in the groove.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like our April Fool's episode.
Yeah,
again.
right. That's right. It is April Fool's Day.
Well, on recording.
I completely forgot.
Yes. All right. Another question from Lauren.
Okay, next question. Have you ever witnessed a thief try to steal chips from a patron's pile or your own chip tray? I've seen, not from my own tray, but I've seen players start to grab somebody else's stack. I can't say 100% that they were going to steal them. It was more like they thought that it might have been their stack. But I have heard of people doing it, and I know for sure somebody in one of the casinos I worked at came in and reached right over the racks and grabbed a whole stack of $500 chips and ran out the front door with them. They made it out the front door. And what the casino did in defense is they took all the $500 chips off the entire floor, and anybody that was cashing out a $500 chip had to show identification. So they eventually caught the people.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the smartest move.
No, I've always said that if I ever, go and try to grab some chips and run out, I'm just going to grab a stack of fives.
Yeah, well, grab them from a player.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, grab it from a player. Yeah.
At the casino. There's a term in craps called railing.
Yeah.
And that's where a person will stand next to you and kind of reach into the rail and kind of, maybe take a couple of your chips.
Sure.
And,
I've done that to you before.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And I've caught you. But you have to be careful with your hundreds and your 500s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I always make sure that mine are like either near you or surrounded by other chips, so they're not on the end.
Yeah.
Right? Keep your smaller denominations on the end so somebody can rail you. It's never happened to me, but it could very easily happen, especially on a crowded table, especially a hot table.
Yeah.
When you're all excited because your hard six just hit, you're whooping up and down, you're looking out there, you could turn around and you could be out a couple hundred.
That's right. Well, I don't think we've ever talked about this before. You were at a craps table once with an old girlfriend,
right? And
she had her purse underneath the table in the shelf there underneath.
Right. It got stolen.
It got stolen while you were playing, right? Suddenly she looked down and her purse wasn't there.
Right.
Yeah.
And some, people had been coming up and standing near us and the table was hot.
Yeah.
The funny thing is she had absolutely no money in there. She had like $1 something, $1 and some change.
Yeah.
I had a bunch in my pocket and they probably thought that, maybe that she was holding my money or something. She had nothing. She found her purse. Actually, the casino found her purse the next day in a trash can in the bathroom, in the men's bathroom.
Okay.
So some guy grabbed it, ran in the bathroom, went through it, found nothing, threw it in there. Yeah. She wasn't out anything. It's just that by that time she'd already canceled her credit cards and all that. Yeah. So big hassle.
Yeah. One final question from Lauren.
Next question. What is the biggest win and loss that you've seen? And what did they buy in for? Well, on craps, seen somebody buy in for, it was either $60 or $80 and walk away with $2,500. So that's what? Around 30 times your bet? That's amazing. And then on blackjack, I had somebody buy into my table for $10,000 and walk away with $300,000. That's most. And if you're wondering what they tipped me, they didn't tip me the entire time until the end, and they threw me $1,000.
So she kind of broke up there in the call. It sounded like the blackjack player bought in for $10,000 and cashed out for around $300,000.
Was it 300 or 32?
Well, that's not that interesting a story then.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
It sounded like 300,000.
Oh, 300,000.
Yeah,
no, that is more interesting.
That is, but I was thinking back to the craps example she gave. Bought in for like 60 or 80, cashed out for 2,000. Well, I've got that beat, right? Because I cashed in for 25 at Caesar's Palace and cashed out for 15,000 when we hit all those fours that one time.
Right. So. Well, my wife that one trip bought in for, I gave her $25 just that trip recently, right?
Oh yeah.
And she cashed out for $2,800, something like that.
Yeah.
At the end of one shooter.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's a pretty good deal.
It can happen.
I'll tell you what, if the guy really bought in for 10,000, cashed out for 300,000, and then left her 1,000 at the end, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, $1,000 is a lot of money, but I don't know.
I mean, that's $270,000 profit.
Yeah.
Or what do you buy in for?
Did you say 10,000?
Well, that $290,000 profit, you're going to leave $1,000?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've never won that much.
Oh God, I would hope I'd at least 5,000.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd feel stupid leaving less than 5,000.
Yep. Ryan on Twitter wanted to know if dealers can pick and choose which games they deal.
Next question. Hierarchy of deals. Do you have to deal all the games or pick and choose poker versus roulette versus craps versus table games? You don't have to deal all the games, but it's better to deal all the games. It gives you an advantage. You are more likely to get full time first, more hours. Some houses do require that you know a certain amount of games. Poker is separate. If you deal table games, you don't deal poker for the most part. I have seen a couple casinos where they do rotate with the poker room, but that's unusual. It's mainly you either deal table games or you deal poker. And I know in Vegas, if you are a craps dealer, you pretty much only deal with craps. You're on craps every night. Same with roulette and same with baccarat. And then blackjack and the carnival games kind of go together. In California, for the most part, everybody moves around. You get to deal everything.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, craps is a little more specialized.
Yeah.
So I guess once you got a good craps dealer, you probably want them on the table.
Yep. We got a call from Marty for our Ask a Dealer segment. That's another way that you can ask a dealer a question. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
So let's hear from Marty.
Hey guys, Marty from Northern California. Found your show about 6 months ago, and I love it, guys. I'm a dice player myself. I'm probably in Vegas about once a month, primarily staying either downtown at the Golden Nugget and playing downtown, or staying out at the Caesars property, Caesars, Planet Hollywood. So, Mike, I've probably been at a table with you at some time and didn't even know it. Here's a question for your Ask the Dealer segment. I make a lot of bets for the dealers, meaning that after a point has been established and the dealers hit the point, I normally put them on the pass lines, usually with double odds and then working my way up to 5 times odds. And I do that, so if the table gets hot, you know, the dealers are going to make $500,000. Works pretty well. Anyway, question for the dealer is, how often does the pit boss ask them for ratings? So when I walk away from the table, does the pit boss ask them, hey, how much is this guy playing? What was his average bet? And what do they tell them? If they've got a player that's playing a lot to the dealers, do they take that into consideration? Thanks. Have a good day.
They don't ask all the time, but sometimes they do ask. And I know in craps, they ask more often because they have more players to watch if it's a busy night. So if the player is betting for us, I will always tell the supervisor if they ask me or not. I'll just let them know because they do take it into consideration. And they'll rate you higher, definitely, or a little higher at least, if you're betting for the dealers.
That's a great question. And I wished they would routinely ask the dealers for your rating, because sometimes they're watching so much stuff, and I am sure unless there's a real good reason to watch you, like you're throwing around a lot of money or something, that you don't quite always get the rating you deserve.
Yeah, when you maybe make a change to the way you're betting or something like that, they're off looking at something else. You know, a lot of tables don't have boxmen anymore, right? You know, to kind of let the pit know what's going on. And
right,
yeah,
and you know, I mean, and you could start off, I mean, you do this a lot. You'll start off with $5 bets and then you'll be winning and things are going good. And all of a sudden you've increased your base bet and maybe you've gone from come bets to placing numbers. And, you know, that's a much better rating. Yeah. But if the guy just has you from the beginning and he's got your rating, it looks like you never did anything else. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I wish they would more. Just, you know, hey, what was this guy doing? Did he do anything different? I had him down for, $10 on the pass line and 2 come bets. Did he vary from that at all?
Yeah. That's all they'd have to do. Did he vary or, and then the dealers would know better. Well, yeah, actually, when, he got ahead, he started doing this,
Yeah. Drew on Facebook asked, how should I ask the dealer at a full ring poker game to desist from talking about religion or politics while dealing? Or should I just ask the floor to talk to that dealer? The arguments and opinions stemming from their chatter is highly distracting and irritating while trying to concentrate on the game during big money decisions.
Well, that depends. It depends how comfortable you feel. If you're right in the middle of a decision and the dealer's chatting away, just ask them nicely. Use their name, whatever their name is, and say, excuse me, can you please please finish the conversation after this hand. And if you're not comfortable with that, yeah, just go talk to the supervisor quietly about it. No problem. They'll take care of it.
Yeah, as far as that goes, that does annoy me too.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes I've partake in a conversation with dealers, but it's usually when it's like me by myself or me and you and nobody else on the table.
Well, I think the real key here too is if it's a poker game, especially,
right?
That's quite a bit different from other games, right? Because at any given time, if you're in the middle of a hand, right, there's decisions that need to be made, right? And people don't want distractions.
But I've had that on the craps table where, they've gotten to some talk about something. Well, I got in a good talk with one of the dealers at Caesars the last time I was there about real estate. And he was telling me about his, real estate dealings and asking what I thought about this and that. And we had a good talk. But the thing is, it was just him and I.
Yes.
And it wasn't bothering me. I was more than happy to talk to him about it. So that was okay. But if there had been other people or had been in the middle of a hot roll, I probably would have just clammed up.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, one more question. And this
important question.
This was from you, Dr. Mike.
Yes, this is an important question.
You basically wanted gossip.
I want something juicy.
Yeah.
I want juicy. You know how I like the juice.
Sure, of course. I certainly know. So let's see what Seven has to say.
One more thing. Dr. Mike asked, give me a juicy story. One of them is, I'm not going to name a name, but one of the dealers I was working with was cheating on payouts for the players, and what they were doing is they were spreading the cards so that you could see 4 out of the 5 cards, and you could just barely see that 5th card underneath and see that it was the same color, and he was paying them for a flush on the bonus and on the regular bet. And it took surveillance a while to catch on, but they finally did, and that person got fired. So that's one little juicy story for you. Another one, this dealer got fired as well. They were coloring up 5 red chips to 1 green chip, so to $25. And instead of dropping $25, they were grabbing 2 green chips out of the rack and doing it really fast and dropping them. That person was obviously keeping their own toke, and they got fired also. So there's 2 stories for you. I'll try and think of another good one for next time.
Okay, so the dealer's with the paygow in cahoots with the player.
In cahoots with the player.
The player's got like 4 hearts and a diamond.
Right.
So that's what they put in the 5-card hand. And they put the diamond right at the end. So when the dealer reveals it for the camera, right, it's only showing the 4 hearts and then just a little bit of the red. Oh, wow.
That's good. That's actually good. I mean, you'd have to be pretty good with cards.
Yes.
To do that, right?
Yep. But practice at home with your
right. Wow.
compadre.
Yeah, and that bonus payout, that'd be the thing, right?
Yeah,
you could put some money on the bonus payout. Yeah. And I suppose, how would you do that? You'd have to just hope that you got enough red cards in your hand.
Well, I think probably the player would signal, okay, this is a case where I don't have a flush, pretend like I do, right? I've got it set up for. They've got to be in cahoots.
Yeah,
it's probably something they practice right at home.
Yeah, you'd have to practice it. Yeah. But I mean, if you make that initial bet, let's say all of a sudden, you got $20 out there. Well, you don't know that you're going to get dealt enough.
Well, no, you don't. But it's going to come up enough. It would
come up a fair amount of times. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty juicy. I like that. I like the dealer cheating for himself.
Yeah.
That is stupid.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's, they're going to watch that, right? Yeah. And that's basically, it seems to me like that'd be pretty easy to catch.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Thank you guys for all the questions, and I'm looking forward to more. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, good. Thanks again, Seven, and thanks also, Yo11, for answering questions. And folks, if you've got questions for our dealers, let us know. Call us, email us, Twitter, Facebook, however you can get the questions
and
to
a
us.
lot of them seem to be craps oriented, but these guys, they deal everything.
Yes.
So anyone who's got a baccarat question or a 3-card poker question or roulette question, they've dealt it all.
Yep.
So and I like their answers.
Yeah, this has been a very fun segment. I definitely enjoy it. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. Be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. I update those listings every Wednesday using a program I wrote myself to search through all the raw American TV data. Just go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and click on the link at the top that says TV listings. And you know what's on this week, Mike, that's not on very often? Let It Ride, the movie with Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, that's a great movie.
And I was looking through the listings. They gave it 1.5 stars out of 4.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, see, isn't that terrible?
That's terrible.
It didn't do well in the theaters.
No, I understand that. I understand that. And you could say that the acting is, not that great and everything. But Terry Garr's in the movie, okay? I want to stress that. Terry Garr is in the movie.
I love that movie.
She's as cute as can be. I'm not a big Richard Dreyfuss fan.
But he's good in that role.
He's good in that role. It's the perfect role for him.
It really is.
And it's such a good movie. And you don't have to know anything about horse racing.
No.
I mean, it's just a fun movie.
It's fun.
And Terry Garr's in it. Did I mention that?
I think you did. Yeah. Well, let's emphasize. Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbettonthat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We always tweet when we're in a casino or on our way to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. And this week, we're going to be going to Harrah's, Southern California, on Friday night, like we usually do.
Right.
And my sister has asked us to teach craps to some of her friends.
Oh,
so we'll
nice.
just make a whole craps tutorial out of it.
So
anybody who wants to come meet us at Harrah's will teach you. This is Sue and her friends, right?
Okay.
So, yep.
All right.
So we'll just open that up to the public.
We're going to have to get an empty table or something.
Yeah, we might be able to pull some strings.
get a table and teach some craps.
Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners, supposedly. Mike.
I just got one thing to say about teaching craps. I know exactly how this is going to go.
All right.
They're going to win. Right? Yes. You and I are going to get hammered because we're not doing what we teach.
That's right. We won't lose a little. We'll lose a lot.
And we'll go home depressed.
Yeah.
And then the whole way home, it'll just be blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I know what that blah, 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 blah is like. Yep. Always fun.
Always fun.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.